like to call the Monday, October 28th, Community Preservation Committee meeting to order. We are located in the Johnson Chambers, and our meeting is being recorded by BCAM. We have one microphone, so I would ask if you speak, wait till we pass the mic on to you so you can make some comments. Our first, ask for attendance, roll call vote. Please, Liz.
Chairman Kersberg.
Present.
Vice Chair Preziosi.
Here.
Member Bonfiglioli.
Here.
Member Francis.
Here.
Member Frazier.
Here.
Member Guggens.
Here.
Member McCamey.
Here.
Thank you. So this evening we will be, one of the things we'll be doing is holding our FY 2024 annual report view and public comment period. So I would ask for a motion to open the public meeting for the annual Community Preservation Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Liz, a roll call vote, please.
Chairman Kersberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Preziosi.
Yes.
Member Francis.
Yes.
Member Frazier.
Yes.
Member Bonfiglioli.
Yes.
Member McCamey.
Yes.
Member Guggens.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Public meeting is now open, and Liz, I know you've prepared a nice overview of some of the projects that we've done. So I'd ask you to make a short presentation and go over projects and allow opportunity for comment.
Thank you, Chairman Kersberg. I'm really excited to be here this evening. This is my third annual meeting now with the town of Braintree as the Community Preservation Manager, and it's been a lot of fun. I've met so many wonderful people, and I've got to work on a lot of interesting and fun projects. The CPC is definitely the fun project category, I think. And I just appreciate everybody's patience, because this was, when I came in this morning at 9 a.m., it was like Santa's workshop in here with all the vote counting and all the really critical election work that's going on. And I wasn't even 100% if we were going to be able to get this broken down and set up for you guys. So I'm so glad that we were able to do that. People working together and working as a team, and so tons of thanks to Connor Murphy, the assistant director. And this is the first time you'll see some pretty detailed financial information in the report, because it's really the first time that I had enough time to kind of dig into a lot of the older projects, some of them that are 15, 20 years hence at this point. And I got a better comfort level in terms of exactly what the final expenditures were and things like that. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and I definitely want to say thank you very, very much to Louise Quinlan, our office manager, because her numbers are terrific, and she's always got my back with a lot of the details. So I just want to make sure I shout her out. So that's my preamble. And hopefully I don't mess this up, because it's a different setup than I'm used to. But so this actually is a picture of obviously the work down at Watson Park with the Delory Field, Little League field that's being completely renovated down there. We were able to get some of those nice construction signs printed up so that folks have a better sense of the CPA funds that are being used for the project down there. Next time I'll probably make them a bit bigger, because when they hung it, it looks like it's going to be big when you look at it in real life, and then when you get out on a construction site, it's like tiny. So I don't know. So we might have to think about making those a little bit bigger in the future with other projects. But so that is just I think I took that probably in late August. So there's been a good amount of work done since then. So here are some of those numbers that I referenced, and you got this in your packet last week if you had a chance to take a peek at it. That FY23 ending balance, that comes from the report that the town files with the Department of Revenue. So that is essentially the funds that are on hand at the end of fiscal '23. It doesn't necessarily mean they're available to appropriate, because some of those funds have been appropriated prior to the end of the fiscal year, but they were in the bank, so to speak. $7,278,457. There was $1,158,664.64 total revenue collected in FY24. That includes the state match that we talk about a lot. So that sort of gives you a total funds world, I guess, of $8,437,122 when we during this fiscal year that just ended that we're talking about. The fiscal year being fiscal 24, which is July 1st, 2023 to June 30, 2024. Not everybody deals with fiscal years and things like that on a regular basis. So the total project expenditures in fiscal 24 were just shy of $500,000. So let me go to the next slide and I can kind of give you some detail on that. So these were the projects where there were actual, bills paid, invoices paid during the fiscal year. The historic inventory, just shy of $30,000. Elm Street Cemetery, we finished up at about $18,000. I think that was some of the final bills that came in on that project, that phase of the project. We'll talk about these projects as well in the subsequent slides. We have some pictures and just some quick updates on them. The Middle Street Trail, $91,000 and change. Armstrong Dam Trail, I guess that was our biggest nut last year, was $268,595. Watson Shoreline had a little bit sort of that was still kind of hanging out there when the fiscal year started. Smelt Brook, we know, we've seen them a few times. They came in for some final funding on their design, their preliminary design for that project over at the Pond Meadow Recreation District. So the final category would be recreation, and we had some expenses on the Hollis Watson design. If you remember, that project was initially to include the fields behind Hollis, and it actually kind of morphed into just focusing solely on Watson, but it's still categorized as Hollis Watson. So there were $31,000 spent there on a contract with Weston and Sampson. The Booliga Street Hockey, there was one expenditure. The vendor that was selected did produce a survey plan, so that's the expense for that survey plan. That one's still kind of on hold. We're not sure exactly how we're going to proceed with that one yet. And then the acoustic panels for the pickleball courts was the final expenditure. So just go back to this real quick. Talk about the boring stuff up front, right? Although not if you like numbers, right? So the admin expenses were just shy of $36,000. I think the budget this year is about $63,000. So we're sort of spending anywhere from like 50 to 60% of our admin budget, pretty typically. And so that leaves you with an FY24 ending fund balance just shy of $8 million, $7,922,000. So today there are prior appropriations and encumbered funds in prior appropriations of $3,545,000. The fire station has been recommended by this committee but not appropriated because it's still waiting in the Ways and Means Committee for that vote. So, but because this committee has already kind of taken it out of the bottom line, I deducted that here. So that leaves us with $2,758,365 available for appropriation as we start this fiscal year. And we are already, 4 months into the fiscal year? July, August, September, October. Yeah, so we're already 4 months into this fiscal year. All right, so that was that. Any questions on the numbers? So I've been trying to do this every year just to kind of keep a nice sense of where we're at in terms of percentages. This is based on, not on number of projects, but on value. So I know it's come up in the past that, some projects might have sort of like a higher dollar value, so it kind of skews it a little. So we probably could look at number of projects as well, if folks wanted to. But essentially, that's a nice distribution between the three major categories, leaning most heavily on the open space and recreation, which is in orange. Okay, so these are the 5 projects that were recommended by the committee in fiscal '24. Smelt Brook Restoration, Delory, field reconstruction and acoustic panels for pickleball. They're all in orange because they represent the open space and recreation category. We have the fire station restoration project, which is, footnoted because, again, that hasn't officially been appropriated. So that project did not officially go into the tally that was submitted to the DOR because it hasn't been officially appropriated yet. So we're just kind of holding that back with a footnote. And then the Independence Manor Windows project, which is in green as a housing project. So let's see. So we've seen this plenty, the Smelt Brook restoration design. The good news on this one is they did finally pass their federal environmental assessment, which from everything I could see was pretty onerous and took several years. So they are past that final, key sort of regulatory hurdle to be able to go ahead and request additional funds to actually get this thing constructed. So there's a meeting next month on that with the folks at Pond Meadow and the folks from the Army Corps of Engineers. So I don't really have any. I'll have a better sense at our next meeting what the upcoming schedule is on that one. And just jump in if you have questions. You might have to get the microphone passed to you though. So at Delory Field, the funding that happened this fiscal year was an additional $385,000, which was added to the original appropriation, bringing the grand total to $1.1 million for the project. It is moving along wonderfully. I'd say they're probably at 80%. They might even be closer to 90% completion. It looks really good down there. Just the fire station, just a little detail of the cast iron lamp on the facade there. So as you know, this is still with the Ways and Means Committee. They are still wrestling with the overall budget for the project and what the town can and can't afford, and whether or not it makes more sense to phase it. The latest, my best understanding on this one is that the CPC elements will be incorporated in, most likely in a phase, in an initial phase as it goes forward. So we're anticipating that the CPC funding will be utilized for this project. Okay, and the windows and doors project at Independence Manor, that is that's moving along. The folks at St. Francis of Assisi residences at St. Francis of Assisi, aka Independence Manor, they have secured private financing which matched the community preservation funds. This was pretty much a 50-50 match. I think the CPC was 49 and the private financing was 51%, which is something we really try to encourage as much as we can in terms of what they call like a leverage on the town's grant funds. And so this is moving along. One of the things that needs to be put in place is an affordability restriction that ensures that the units that are being funded are maintained as affordable units in perpetuity, regardless of what could potentially happen with ownership at this location, because this is not a publicly owned facility. It's a private nonprofit. So we've got to make sure we do what we need to do to tie that up nice and tight to make sure that those affordability restrictions remain in place long term or in perpetuity. Okay, this is, what is this one? I couldn't find a pickleball, but that's the tennis ball. So these are the acoustic panels at the pickleball courts, and they were as advertised by the vendor. They did reduce the decibel levels at the site at the courts, and I know there was a meeting over the summer that the mayor attended, and some other town staff and people from the association, from the pickleball association, from the neighborhood, and as my understanding is there's a really good dialogue, and people are continuing to try to understand each other and be good neighbors. And so I think it's, you know, I think the you know, it's a busy place. So it's, you know, it might continue to need some tweaking and some you know, it's in a good place right now based on the investment from the CPC. I think that's probably the best way to phrase it for this. All right, and then we just had a few updates on existing projects, which I can hold this, Dr. Kersberg, until that part of the agenda, if you'd like.
Why don't you just continue as part of the public hearing?
Sure. Okay. All right. So just a couple that had some movement. And I'll go quickly because we talked about it with some of the budget numbers. The historic property inventory, actually I received just today, I think it came in on Friday, was the preliminary draft report from the consultants. All 100 forms have been submitted to the Mass Historic Commission. They are still awaiting some feedback from the staff there. I anticipate that they'll finish when expected, which was by the end of this year. And I'm looking forward to sharing the draft forms with the members of the Historic Commission and the folks at the Society that were very helpful in meeting up front with the consultants. There's a gentleman who I think is in charge of like the Historic House Plaque program, who gave some really good input, and so we'll be circling back with the folks that participated on that project. So Middle Street Trail, again, that was you know, a couple of smaller items that needed to be wrapped up, but there was an official ribbon cutting in October of '23, and my understanding is folks are enjoying it very much. And again, the latest phase for this project was completed in spring of 2024 with final documentation and photos of, you know, the before and after and the conditions and what have you, which is really important for the historical documentation. So that phase of this project is fully complete. And the Armstrong Dam, I know that they are, unfortunately, I don't have a more specific update on the schedule there as far as the, you know, when is that public boardwalk going to open? I know that's what people keep asking me. So I don't want to get ahead of anybody, but work is ongoing and work is continuing. So it is imminent. It's imminent. It might be a little hindered by some weather, but I'm hopeful people will be out there enjoying that very soon. And as I had mentioned, we did have just a small item on the street hockey court design where that survey plan was submitted for the site, and some initial designs, some initial conceptual designs. So that's the progress on that, on the street hockey court. So that's it. And then, and then public public input, if as you please, Dr.
Okay.
Kersberg.
Thank you, Liz, and I know I can speak for the committee to thank you for the work that you've done on this and the work that you've done for the committee in the short period of time that you've been here. So before we open it up to the public, are there any comments or questions that the committee would have? No? Okay, so this is the public portion of the meeting, and you're welcome to come forward or sit where you are and make any comments or questions that you might have. And I'll give you this microphone so that...
We're here because of the Adams Street
okay.
park, and I've been talking to Elizabeth.
Should we,
but-
do you want to come up here and use this?
Okay.
Yeah, that might be
just
better,
had-
that might be better for the recording.
Alright.
Is that all right?
Yeah, don't-
Yeah, scooch this way so you don't have to come over this.
We just hear an interest of the park, Adams Street Park, Adams Park, which is on Commercial Street. And we started this 3 years ago. And what had happened was the front of the park got destroyed because of the construction for the new road in the, coming off the highway on Adams Street. And then town, we kind of run out of money to revitalize that through the DPW. But the park was a separate proposal that what we wanted to do, and we did get 3 bids. One was 77,000, one was 73,000, one was 69,000, just for the design. And when we talked to the park department, we were so happy now, and I've made contact with the new director, so hopefully we can bring this back to life. We thought that was a lot of money for a design, for what we what the constituents in that area want to do, which is just a walk around park, with like they did at Lincoln Street. So it's just like a walking path with a fence to keep the coyotes out of the park, because they sun themselves all the time. And and it's also for the trains that go by, and there's a lot of debris there, poison ivy and so forth, and the kids will play. And also the playground area needs to be fixed up. It's a mess. And a few benches and so forth. So I thought that was extremely a lot of money. I brought Allie Boyd with me today, who's another resident in this area, and she's a landscape, and she has design experience and so forth. So I thought we could do this a little bit better, cost effective, because I didn't think it warrants that amount of money to put a design in and so forth. So I just wanted to bring forth to this committee, having helped implement the community preservation through the League of Women Voters, to say we definitely want this to keep on the agenda, and that we will come back, and with the help of Elizabeth, to get more figures and to get a more plan in place so that we can restore the park to make it feasible for people to use it. And also, we need to meet with the mayor about what the DPW is going to do with the front entrance of the park, because that came under a different budget. So I just want to let this committee know that we still want this to be activated, and hopefully with the new director that we can get it going. And thank you.
Well, no, thank you for the work that you're doing on this, and we'll welcome your application, and thank both of you for everything that you're doing to help
Great.
better that field.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to, you may have
My name
mentioned
is
it.
Jean Giagrandi.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the public? No? Hearing none, I'll go back to the committee if there's anything that anyone has that they'd like to add. No? If not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So,
Motion made, close the public hearing and
Second.
Seconded. Roll call vote, please, Liz?
Chairman Kersberg,
Yes.
Vice Chair Preziosi,
Yes.
Member Francis,
Yes.
Member Frazier,
Yes.
Member Bonfiglioli,
Yes.
Member McCamey,
Yes.
Member Googans.
Yes.
Public hearing is closed. Thank you, everybody, and we'll continue on with our agenda. Potential new projects, and Liz, I'll turn that over to you.
Sure, I guess I'll just stay up here. It's probably easier. So Adams Park Design, which, thank you very much for coming, because that's terrific. It's, you know, to get that proactive conversation going with the new recreation director, Brendan Croak, is awesome, because that's sort of what I was needing to be able to try to help move this forward. I will say that the design budget and the prices that came back, it can be difficult to bid a public project, you know, without bringing on somebody that can sort of help with that piece in terms of some of the procurement requirements, some of the licensure, the bonding, et cetera. So that's a conversation, because part of it was driven, I think some of those numbers were driven partly by the scope. So if the scope is considerably reduced, you know, then that design budget probably can be looked at. But unfortunately, I feel like if you bid a $100,000 project or a $2 million project, sometimes your sort of soft costs up front tend to be a decent number. So just to kind of set the expectations a little bit on that one, and I also think that it ultimately leads to a better project with good solid smart design up front. It's worth the money, in my opinion. So on Braintree American, I don't really have a update on that for the new lighting at that Little League facility, but again, same theme with you know, kind of connecting with the new recreation director. I've had a couple of meetings on site with him at Delory, but we really haven't had a chance to kind of dig into any other projects yet. But that is, I'm sure that'll be coming. John Thompson is the acting DPW director, the town engineer, and he has also been very hands-on at Delory, in addition to, I'm sure, a lot of other obligations for his time right now. So everyone's juggling and doing the best they can to make sure these projects stay on track and stay on the list. With the Plain Street Cemetery, with the mounded tomb there, I'm actually in the process of putting together an RFQ, request for quotes, on that project. I talked to the director, Melissa Santucci-Rossi, about speaking with the Historic Commission at their meeting next week to see if they wanted to be the sponsors of the application to the CPC to restore that mounded tomb at Plain Street. So that should, I'm assuming the commission wants to move forward, that funding application might be in front of the committee in December, perhaps, if we're able to get some prices back from potential vendors. I pretty much covered, that's pretty much it for potential new projects.
Any comments or questions on the potential new projects before the committee at this point? No? Okay, thank you. Old business project updates. We have quite a few projects in the wings right now.
Yeah, and I think I pretty much covered most of them in the slide presentation. I didn't have anything on Liberty Grove, the historic house at 1006 Liberty. That is something that, a plan needs to come together, I think, for that property. So that's, unfortunately, I don't have anything specific on that as of yet. Doherty Gym restoration, same with that project. We talked about the historic inventory. I had a short conversation with our new conservation planner, Laura Morrison. She's in the planning department. She started in September, and she will be working on these conservation restrictions. So we had just kind of a quick talk about those. The town hall handicap ramp, I did get some feedback from Mary Beth McGrath on that. There is some interest in trying to see if that ramp could be incorporated into the main entrance here, where the porte cochere was just repaired. So that's clearly going to be a larger project if they try to do some type of sort of like a small lift or some kind of enclosed area there, as opposed to an exterior, concrete ramp like they were talking about replacing over here into Cahill. So but that's in the early stages of discussion. I don't really have a ton. I don't have a lot more information on that yet. We talked about the fire station, Independence Manor, Delory Field. The folks at their public library, they needed to go back out to do a more formal RFQ for their microfilm project. So they are in the process of doing that. And the Historic Society's request for the fire system replacement, I believe, is on the Ways and Means Committee agenda next week. I think it's the first week of November.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Any comments or questions on any of the projects that currently are in the works? The only thing I would say, Liz, and really to the people who may be watching this, that we've supported a number of great projects for the town, and so we welcome suggestions or ideas that people have in terms of utilizing community preservation funds, whether it's for recreation or any of the major categories that the committee supports, many of which you've heard this evening. So with that, hearing no further comment, we'll move on to administrative business, the approval of the meeting minutes of September 24th. Do I hear a motion motion made? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the meeting minutes of September 23, 2024. Liz?
Yes.
Roll call
Chairman
vote.
Kersberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Preziosi.
Yes.
Member Francis. Oh, you weren't. Thank you, Diane. Member Frazier.
Yes.
Member Bonfiglioli.
Yes.
Member McCamey.
Yes.
Member Googans.
Yes. Chairman Kirkwood, could I ask a question?
Sure.
So, what is our affiliation with 1066 Liberty Street after the purchase was made?
So, a couple things need to happen to really close out the CPC role. A permanent restriction needs to be placed on the property, whether it's a historic preservation restriction, open space restriction, or a affordable housing restriction. So, because I think the way, my understanding of the way it was framed was that it could potentially fall into any of those three categories.
But it was purchased under historic, right?
I believe the language on the actual vote. I could go back and look at it, but I think they gave themselves maximum flexibility.
Oh,
Because it kind of could fall into any one of those categories. If they chose to, maybe use it as a single affordable unit potentially.
so who is in charge of maintaining that house?
I believe it's the Public Buildings Department, so essentially the DPW. And they're, you know, they are checking it, and it's, as far as I know, it's tight. I haven't heard otherwise. But clearly, you know, somebody, my understanding is somebody was living there as recently as 2018, 2019.
Right.
So 5 or 6 years on, that's not it's not ideal.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liz, could I ask you to repeat the question?
Oh, sure.
I didn't
So
give you the mic.
what the next,
I'm not loud enough, though.
No,
Okay.
so for, in case folks at home, the question I think was what do we have, like, what's our role, and do we have continuing obligation, sort of like as a committee?
Exactly.
So that would be, my understanding, that would be the only, you know, very specific obligation that's still hanging, is those restrictions need to be put in place. And I think the only reason they haven't been is because
Restrictions such as what? What category the home will
an
fit
open,
into?
well, so you could do, so in theory, you could do an open space restriction for the land behind.
Mhm.
You could potentially subdivide. You could, and then you could have sort of like a piece of it would be historic and a piece of it would be open space. And then if there was a desire, I personally think it would be fabulous if someone could figure out how to get a couple of affordable units. That's just my own personal opinion. You know, maybe potentially affordable for seniors, perhaps, I'm not sure, but there are precedents in other communities where that's happened with public buildings. And then it would be an affordable housing restriction, if
So
that's ultimately where it went.
This committee could make any or all of those decisions?
Again, I'd have to go back and double check the wording on the motion and you know, kind of the council order on that. But I'm pretty certain, well, the town also, like, oh, go ahead, absolutely.
I believe it's gonna come out of the mayor's office.
Right.
The mayor we've been talking about the mayor appointing a committee to come up with a specific recommendation. That has not happened yet.
Right, exactly. And I think what I was trying to, well, I gave my personal opinion, but my professional staff opinion, I guess. But it hasn't been determined yet. So my understanding is that it could be in any one of those 3 categories. So this committee's specific obligation today is that we need to make sure that restriction that's required by the Community Preservation Act is put in place. And it could be for affordable housing, it could be for open space, it could be for historic preservation.
So this committee makes that determination, and then the mayor steps in and says,
No, I think it's basically as Ron I think Ron characterized it best, that if there's a committee, or there's to be a committee to look at, to study the issue. And so once that takes place, then this committee would do sort of like the technical component which is required, which is to have that restriction in place, that legal technical component to have that restriction in place. But this committee clearly has a say in recommendations, and, you know, as members of the community and as members of this committee, you know, perhaps as a person on a committee that for that property.
I guess my concern was when this was brought to this board, my personal concern was we're paying this kind of money, but at that point we did not know who was going to be the keeper of the house. Okay, so that's the reason I'm asking you these questions, for that kind of money that we spent.
Right. Yep. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yep. I mean, it's a nice size. It's a nice piece of property, open space wise as well. But yeah, that's very fair.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you, Liz and Marta. Moving on to the CPA Coalition annual dues. So this is part of an organization that we belong to that really advocates for community preservation funding from the state. And I think there are at least 175 communities that participate in this. And we've been a member right from the beginning, and our annual dues for the upcoming year would be $3,500. I'd welcome a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, Peter, to approve the dues for the Community Preservation Coalition.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Oh,
Roll
Chairman
call vote?
Kersberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Preziosi.
Yes.
Member Francis.
Yes.
Member Frazier.
Yes.
Member Bonfiglioli.
Yes.
Member McCamey.
Yes.
And Member Googans.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is our financial update.
Okay. So, these are the long-awaited available for appropriation 7/1/24. So similar to the slide I showed you earlier in the presentation, I've deducted the fire station restoration total from what was available, and that leaves us with a available balance for appropriation of $2,758,365. And once the Historical Society fire alarm gets through Ways and Means, I will add that to this as well. That 4,500 and change for that small project.
So that includes all of any money coming in from the state plus money generated from the 1%
Exactly.
on the
Yep.
real estate taxes.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That's all the funding available for appropriation.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions?
Actually, I have one, Peter. Liz, I know you had said that the fire station restoration may now be done in phases. So does the amount we have designated stay out, or does that come back and we'll approve or appropriate money for each phase?
As of now, my sense is that the items that are funded by the CPC money are really critical to making the project, sort of go overall, because it is a building that's historically significant and located in the local historic district. So I think it would be tricky not to sort of do a lot of that stuff, especially since it's dealing with the exterior. So some of the subsequent phases, which potentially could be an addition, which potentially could be maybe sort of like other enhancements, those are most likely not going to be CPC funds. So that's my gut right now. But I honestly don't know if how full scale the project is going to proceed today. I don't know. So, but my sense is that our funding will get utilized. All of our funding will get utilized again, because it's the roof, it's the gutters, it's the mortar and the bricks and the it's all the stuff that everyone's going to see. It has to look right for the local historic district.
Yeah.
So I that's why my sense is that our funding is going to be critical to make sure that continues to please, the various stakeholders, particularly the local historic district and the historic commission.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, moving on to the updating CPC strategic plan.
Okay, so the conversation that I had with the chairman was that this is probably its own meeting. So I really just wanted to circulate this table to the group for tonight and just kind of get it in your hands. It was attached to your packet, to the email. And so, once you have a chance to kind of take a peek at it, I believe there's about 9, possibly, what are we, 1, 2, 3, I think there's about 9 or 10 very specific strategies in the master plan that are in either directly designate the Community Preservation Committee to study it, or to be part of the effort, to be funding it. So, in my mind, this was the best place to start for having a community preservation plan for the town of Braintree, which is something that in the statute where we really need to be. This kind of, sort of summary and some of the different reports and what have you, probably on the face of them would kind of qualify as that plan and that report, but I'd really like to do something where we really think kind of, strategically about what's in the master plan. That was a very involved, very deep process. So I'd love to, try to be in line with the recommendations coming out of that process. And so that's pretty much it for tonight as far as just kind of introducing the topic. Want to get this stuff in front of you, and then maybe we could have a, kind of like a short session at one of our meetings to get people's feedback about, if you had to rank these. Some of them are already ranked anyway. They're ranked near, medium, and long term, and they're also ranked by how much they cost. So there's already a couple of ranking mechanisms in the spreadsheet already, but I think the one we really want to think about is kind of the priorities of this committee, and how they sort of align with the master plan recommendations.
Well, I think, Liz, you put together a nice chart for us, and it does, I think, allow us to see where does because the questions keep coming up, well, what does CPC do, or how does it fit into what we're doing as a town?
Mm-hmm.
And this lays that out very nicely, and I think we can have a good discussion about that.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. All right. Good. So maybe agenda, maybe November or December,
Yeah.
depending upon how busy we are. Okay.
Any other comments or questions on the? No? Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for November 25th, and that will be via Zoom.
As far as I know, unless there's any desire to change that.
Okay. All right, hearing no further discussion, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made to adjourn, is there a second?
Second?
Motion made and a second to adjourn. Liz?
Okay. Chairman Kersberg.
Yes.
Vice Chair Preziosi.
Yes.
Member Francis.
Yes.
Member Frazier.
Yes.
Member Bonfiglioli.
Yes.
Member McCamey.
Yes.
And Member Googans.
Yes.
Motion passes, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And this is, we're meeting before Thanksgiving, correct?
Yes. Monday, yes.